Bay of Naples, a port and fertile agricultural region where Pompeii was located just 240 kilometers from Rome, the capital of the Western world at that time. Pompeii, with its 20,000 inhabitants, served as a tourist destination where the Romans took vacations. Its public baths were famous throughout the empire. At the foot of the imposing Mount Vesuvius, Pompeii, as usual, opened its shops at 8 a.m. on that fateful day of August 24, 79, but there were still few people on the streets. This is because the night before, as was common in the Roman Empire, people stayed up late watching gladiator fights and plays, all in celebration of the god of fire, Vulcan. They could never have imagined that in just a few hours, one of the greatest disasters of all time would be about to happen. I'm Donato de Paula, narrator of Misterios do Mundo, and here is the story of the eruption of Vesuvius, the day people turned to stone. If you like the video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the Misterios do Mundo channel, and turn on notifications. From rich and poor, everyone felt blessed to live in Pompeii, believing that the fertility of the land was a divine gift. They could never imagine that the soil was so fertile because of the ancient explosions of Vesuvius. In fact, for them it was just any mountain, just a beautiful and silent neighbor that completed the landscape of the prosperous and rich city. They didn't know what a volcano was, and they didn't even have a name for it. That was why small tremors on that hot morning, which could have served as a warning sign that something devastating was approaching, went unnoticed. It was just over 10 a.m. when a deafening boom echoed across the plain, followed by a strong tremor and a shower of volcanic rocks. In a matter of minutes, day turned to night. The black smoke from Vesuvius completely blocked out sunlight. People, frightened by the noise and impressed by the black sky, left their homes. But the black cloud wasn't just smoke. Vesuvius threw tons and tons of rocks into the atmosphere that easily reached 10 kilometers in height. Fatally, these hot rocks began to fall in all directions, cruelly destroying one of the richest cities of its time. Men and women, children and the elderly. Everyone still didn't know what was going on. Thousands of people ran aimlessly, marking the soft ash and volcanic mud with footprints of human desperation that would remain unknown for nearly 2 millennia. The people who ran north chose a path that helped save their lives. Those who chose the east found themselves on a path of no return. They ended up, unluckily, in the middle of a precipitation zone that would quickly be buried under a meter of pumice. Others stayed at home praying and had no chance of escaping. As more and more ash fell, it clogged the air, making it difficult to breathe. People inhaled a mixture of hot carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen chloride, and sulfur dioxide, which burned the respiratory system. These gases mixed with fine ash, which once inhaled, formed a kind of cement in the lungs. Buildings collapsed, one by one. Then, a pyroclastic flow of superheated poisonous gas and pulverized rock raced down the mountainside at 100 miles per hour, swallowing everyone and everything in its path. Exposure to heat of up to a hellish 900 degrees was enough to cause almost instantaneous death in those closest to the volcano, causing their blood to boil and their skulls to explode. In those that were further away, in the center of Pompeii, up to 10 kilometers from Vesuvius, the air temperature reached a scorching 250 degrees. To make matters worse, the eruption caused a tsunami in the Bay of Naples. Waves of up to 8 meters rendered the port of Pompeii unusable. Those who survived and tried to escape by sea were unable to do so. When the eruption of Vesuvius came to an end the next day, Pompeii was buried under millions of tons of volcanic ash. It took 18 hours for one of the most famous eruptions in history. In total, around 16,000 citizens of Pompeii and Herculaneum, a nearby city, lost their lives. Some people returned to the city in search of relatives or lost belongings, but there wasn't much to find. Pompeii, a beautiful, prosperous, and centuries-old city, was buried not just in ashes, but in oblivion. The city remained largely untouched until 1748, when a group of explorers looking for ancient artifacts began digging. They discovered that the ash had acted as a wonderful preservative. Beneath all that dust, Pompeii was almost exactly as it had been for nearly 2,000 years before. The ruins were intact. Skeletons, petrified by volcanic ash, lay exactly where they fell. Everyday objects and household utensils were still scattered across the streets. Since then, Pompeii has been unearthed, along with a multitude of discoveries that have helped reveal how the disaster happened. According to experts, for example, after the ash cooled around the intact bodies, the slow disappearance of the flesh left a cavity around the skeletons, which allowed it to be filled with plaster. This is how the bodies of some victims were petrified and transformed forever into plaster mummies. In the shadows of Vesuvius, the ruins of Pompeii are open to tourists from all over the world. Visitors can stroll through the Roman streets and see ancient houses, fish markets, temples, theaters, and even brothels, but not the entire city has been unearthed, and research projects are still ongoing, so that the city's full history is known. Today, Mount Vesuvius is the only active volcano in continental Europe. Its last eruption was in 1944, and its last major explosion was in 1631. Another eruption is expected in the near future, which could be devastating for the 700,000 people living in the risk zones around Vesuvius. But fortunately, today we know much more than the ancient Romans, and signs of a major eruption will be much better interpreted than they were nearly 2,000 years ago, allowing cities like Naples to be evacuated in time. Today's video ends here. Tell us what you think in the comments. Until next time.